But look, you guys have both been talking about it. Let's go into it. Let's move forward. We don't have a shot for the playoffs. So let's start talking. What is going to happen? What are we thinking is going to take place this offseason? Jack, I'll come to you first. What do you want to happen?
Yeah, like Will was saying, I think you just got to blow it up. Like I think you just got to fire them all, bring in a new head coach, bring in it all, and then just start from fresh. Again, you got all those draft picks, you got all that cap space. You got some really good pieces here to build off of, especially on the offense. And so, you got two stud defensive tackles in the middle that are under contract. You got a lot of good pieces. So I could see them, bringing in a new coach, bringing in a new GM. And unfortunately, I think they're probably going to draft a quarterback. I think that's probably what they're going to do with this type of opportunity. Depending on where they, end up, unless they end up winning out by some craziness. Like I see them getting their QB. I just don't know who it's going to be. I have no idea. There's just so many to choose from. It seems like this season. I just don't know.
Right.
And, probably picking up a couple offensive linemen in the in free agency, that type of thing, filling in as many holes as they possibly can on that end. But that's probably what I see happening. Just fresh start, drafting free agents, bringing them in, and just basically hitting the reset button, starting the process, just like they did up in Philly. So with the Sixers, so it's time to do that. Just gotta draft our Joel Embiid somehow. That's what we got to do. So
he's out there.
Yeah. Yep. So that's kind of where I'm at. Just blow it up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. What are your thoughts, Will?
I'm most excited next is not to see who the head coach is going to be. I'm most excited to see who is going to take over this front office. Jack alluded to the fact, I can't remember if it was on the show or when we were talking before we went live, and how bad we are at drafting in the first and most particularly the second round, how many misses we had. So I'm done with the Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney's of the world overdrafting guys like Phil Mathis and Percy Butler and Cole Turners who are not producing on the field. And I want us to find somebody from a young personnel guy who's coming from an organization or has come from organizations that have success, that have had people go beyond elsewhere. And basically what happened to us in 2013 and all these guys left and became head coaches, I want us to be plucking one of those young guys to take over the franchise. So that's my next thing is who is going to be the decision maker out here on personnel and who's going to be their head coach. And I'm really curious to see the ties that come from it. They talk about this. Football can be very, very incestual, and it's what ties does this new general manager have? And therefore, so what head coaches candidates are they looking for? And then you find out they probably worked together years ago at some organization and whatnot. But I'm just excited. You look at organizations like Philly that trades a lot of picks, a lot of players for picks. You look at San Francisco and how they've accumulated their franchise and how things are going. It's like, can you find personnel and scouts from those teams to bring in a fresh set of ideas to our organization?
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Now, for me, honestly, I think the offseason, and this is no indication of how I felt about the season, but I think the offseason started as soon as Josh Harris and them got in here, because as we know, it was them looking at spreadsheet of everything they have, and let's see, what do we have? What kind of coach? And then everybody was on trial, and we've seen certain guys have gone, certain guys have left out. But one of the biggest things, one of the major issues we had, especially from the Dan Snyder era, is people didn't want to come here. People even in the DC area didn't want to deal with us. I think one of the things that Josh Harrison and the Harris Group has done has rebuilt that bridge, brought in these people. Now you start having people that want to come. EB coming here was a big thing. I want to keep Sam. That's obviously,
sure.
But I want us to see if we can build around him more than just because I like him and I'm rooting for the guy, but because I think that also says something for us. Let's be honest. In the last 4 years, how many quarterbacks have we had? I mean, Ron had to deal with countless number, 4 guys in 2020, and it's been Heineke, Wentz, Fitzpatrick, all these guys since then. we need to change that narrative. You know what I mean? If we're going to sit here and draft this guy, let's give him the opportunity. It's not like he's terrible out here. So in my opinion, that new coach I want that new GM. I want the new coaches. I want them to be in love with the Sam. I want them to say, all right, I got a good quarterback, a quality guy. Let's build around him. I want offensive minded guys. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at right now. Like, I love Ron. I'm 100% an 80s baby, Ron Rivera, Bears, all that stuff. But he's a defensive guy. He's a defensive guy with a record of losing. I want us to look for an offensive guy that it's young, who's smart, and he wins. He has a history of winning. And I think that's going to be something. It's all about changing the narrative in Washington.
There you go. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, erasing that black mark, all that Dan Snyder stuff. I think one of the things that us as fans, and maybe not the people in this show, but us as fans have thought as soon as Dan Snyder left, everything was going to change.
Yeah.
And we still are dealing with all that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's going to take some time. But in my opinion, let's go full steam ahead with what we have in-house, and let's start making those moves. I don't know exactly who. I know Cunningham, Will, you send me, that stuff. But a lot has to do with what exactly happens to Ron. Because I want to ask you guys a question. It's been speculated. We've talked about it. Ron's on his way out to the end of the year. But with the 4 years that he's had, we can all say that he has done a part in attempting to change the culture. Do you keep that somehow part of the team, or what do you think?
I think he gone, man. I think I think that's it. I think it's just, why would you keep him at this point? Like, it's just, he's clearly not been able to pick successfully in the drafts. Like, you could keep him on as like your character guy. I don't know what type of, role that would be in house, but I don't think he would take that. Like, I think he would, choose to just, move on. I unless he's GM or head coach, I don't see him being here.
Yeah.
So, and again, like, I just, like, we've tried this. We've tried this for 4 years now, and it's just, it's clearly, it's not working. So, you gotta move on. You gotta cut ties. Let the dude retire, take a couple years off, and then he'll get recycled like all the other people do in the NFL do anyway. So you'll find a job somewhere else, and then probably end up being a head coach in 4 or 5 years, just because that's how it goes. So,
cycle.
I think we trade him to Carolina. Let's get a draft pick for Ron Rivera. Let's
10th round pick.
And I don't mean that to be like mean. I'm saying, like, Carolina's such a mess, and who wants to go coach there with the owner who just fired his first year head coach in 11 games? Well, Ron is beloved in Charlotte. So, like, here, y'all can have him back. Give us a 5th round pick. We'll take a 5th round pick. Y'all can have him back. I think part of the cleansing of the franchise and cleansing of everything that was Dan Snyder is you get rid of Ron and you shake his hand and thank him, because he went through a lot while here. He went through. Let's think about it. He signed on as coach of the Redskins, and now look where we're at in 2023.
And by the time he survived cancer,
then he had personal struggles, right? Yeah, so it's like he has had a much harder time than I think he realized. Which I would also say, well, shame on you for getting sold. That this was going to be easy, because this franchise with Dan Snyder was never going to be easy to be successful. Sure. But he's not the guy for what they want to do, and we need to move on from him.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And this is where you got to separate the business from the fan side. Because that 2020 was special. It was magical, man. It was magical. I believed. And Ron, if this is your time, buddy, I appreciate all you've done for us. But look, and so we talk about cleaning house with the players, but people have asked, about certain players. We talk about Sam, and if we're going to get a new quarterback, but let's look at the big name guys. Let's look at, a couple guys are on contract, but we're thinking toward the future. Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Terry McLaurin, these type of guys that obviously in every other year we would say, no, they're off limits, don't touch them. Now we kind of have to see if we're going in a new direction. We know how good they are, but when you are losing there are some habits that you pick up that it's just hard to let go of. So once we start winning, are they going to bring that over? So are these guys on the not hot seat, but is everybody in play? I'll say that.
I think you're going to keep key pieces like that. Like I listen to Jonathan Allen talk every week, and dude, that guy's got a lot of pride in his game. Like there is no way that guy would become like a loser and just is just there to collect a paycheck. Hearing that guy talk gets me pumped up. Like he's got it, man. But same thing with Terry. Like I don't really hear a lot from Big Pain. Like I don't really hear much of what he talks about, and I can't really get a gauge of his character. But But I think you hold on to pieces like that. Those are guys you're gonna, build around and help lead this team once you bring new players in. From a player perspective, they're kind of team captains already at this point. So I don't see them. I don't see them moving them unless it's some, maybe too good to be true, trade offer or something like that. I just don't see it. I see them holding on to those guys, and that's not from like an emotional standpoint. I think that's more from like a a business standpoint of not completely blowing it up, unless they do something crazy and trade, whatever pick they have plus one of those, veteran players for like the first overall pick or something like that. That's possible. That's always possible.
It's
but
possible.
I just don't see it. Yeah, I just don't see it, man. So yeah.
What you think, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately you would anticipate someone like Terry, someone like Jonathan, Jerron Payne, maybe if you re-sign Graham Curl, those are your building blocks of the team. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you also got to think Terry's going to go on how many, coaches have been helping him, not just head coaches, but offensive coordinators, schemes. How many quarterbacks has he had thrown to him? Jonathan Allen we haven't had a winning season since he's joined our franchise.
Yeah, it drives him crazy.
What if, what if they want to come and say, I know you guys need to go in a different direction, but I need a fresh start. And to that, I say you give it to them. You give any player, it also could mean a little bit of growing pains for us. But if anybody like that says they don't want to be here, then we need to move on from them. We need to give this new regime a chance to fully mold their players.
Have you heard any rumblings about any of those guys wanting to move on?
No, I'm just bringing this up just as as a scenario. No, you're right. Yeah, and I don't know if you would hear that from those folks anyway. But
I don't know. Yeah,
I also feel bad for them. How many quarterbacks has Terry had to catch balls from?
Right.
Do we finally have the guy for him? I mean, potentially, but he's also not putting up great numbers. How many?
Sure.
Jerron Payne. Did we get? What happened to him this year?
Not playing for a contract.
Got paid. Yeah.
I mean, was 2022 Jerron Payne the outlier? Are we seeing what he's been his whole career? So do we need to praise this guy?
I don't know.
Right.
And so that's where the question was, because when you look at it from a business perspective, you start looking at it from, well, how much can I get for this guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those situations where you're kind of like, no, I don't want to see them go. And like you said, they are building blocks. But let's look at who we're tied to. We're forever tied to the Panthers. How many times did we say we're the Washington Commanders because all we did was pull guys like that? And let's look what they did in the last year. The amount of quarterbacks they went through. Robbie Anderson, CMC, DJ Moore, all these guys out. Now they are truly a dumpster fire. We don't want to go down that far. But at the same time, if we are truly going to clean house, it just makes you wonder which directions, how are they really going to go? But hopefully they don't do that.
And I do think. Go ahead, Jack. You go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we already kind of did to this point. I still am very happy with the Chase Young and Sweat moves. Those guys again. It looks like we made the right move with getting rid of those guys when we did, instead of paying them top tier money. Chase Young, granted he's on a stacked defense, but he's not the game changer that we thought he would be his rookie year. Maybe it's injury wise, maybe. I was reading post forums after the last San Francisco Seattle game where they're just saying why is he not running after the play? Why is he not going? Why is he not going after the ball when they're running outside of his zone? I just think that's how he is, man. I think he's just kind of like a selfish player who just doesn't And if he doesn't get that sack, like he's just not going to give you that hustle. Maybe he's afraid of the knee getting hurt. I don't know. But it's just, and the same thing with Sweat. They gave him a huge chunk of money. And I love Montez like here, but it's just, I don't think he's worth that. What do you get, like 24, 25 mil a year or something like that? Like you just, you can't.
Chicago fans are already on him. Saying they took him out of the game when the game was on the line, or he's not out there when necessary. They're already kind of griping on that stuff, and y'all already paid his ass. So
you're stuck with him. Yeah. And I don't think the NFL necessarily does what you see in basketball or especially baseball with trading all your assets away. So I wouldn't expect the guys like Terry and Jonathan to be traded, but because you also have the ability to flip rosters. Sometimes you bring in the right coaches. Look what happened in Dallas when they brought in their defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. Look how quickly he flipped that, and that's the excitement that I have for our offseason is let's bring in. So Ben asked, are we going to stick with Bieniemy or outside? I want to go outside because I want an outsider to look at this offense and say, okay, the best case scenario is a new coach comes in and says, I've got a young quarterback that I can do something with. I've got 2 receivers that are on the team right now in Terry and Jahan. I can do something with those guys, but I also need another piece to, someone physical. When we need 3rd and 3, I need someone physical to make that catch. All right. I've got some running backs who can play, but we need to get some linemen. I want an offensive mind thinker to come in and say, there's some pieces here that I can do something with. This is what I just need to bring in a couple pieces and I'm ready to go. So that's what has me excited about the offseason.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Let's bring in a short yardage back so we don't have to run so much daggone shotgun on 3rd and 1. I mean, God.
Right? Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.